Hello everyone, we are back for UDL Season 3. Now if you guys remember, I participated in UDL Season 1 a few months back, and I actually did partake in UDL Season 2, however, at the time I was already doing PDL, and both of them were Regulation B Draft League, and at the time I didn't really feel like I particularly wanted to do two draft leagues at the exact same time on YouTube. But here we are back for UDL Season 3, and I've retired the No Point Snowrunt's name. I've run it in 3 draft league seasons by now, so I wanted to do with a different name. So we are the coach of the Frostpunk Frostmoths. Now, some basic rules about the draft. Oh, it's a little cut off, but oh well. For those who don't know, you draft 11 Pokemon from 7 different tiers consisting of S+, S, A, B, C, D, and E. And your lineup must have an S, A, 2 Bs, 2 Cs, and a D. Or S+, 3 Bs, 2 Cs, and a D. The last 4 are free agents. What free agents are is from the remaining Pokemon on the draft table from A to E tier, you can draft. Each of them have a certain amount of points to them. For example, A has 100 points, B has 75, C 50, D 25, and E's have no point cost attached to them. Though you can't draft an S or S plus agent. For example, if I go with the S plus route, I normally don't get any A tiers. However, with the 250 point limit on FAs, I can grab 2 A tiers as free agents, which we'll see in a bit. The first Pokemon I drafted was spoilers. Was Tornadus from S plus. Now, Tornadus is the Tailwind setter of Regulation D. It's got Prankster, of course it's got Tailwind. Has a signature move in Bleak Wind Storm, which is 100 base power, 80% accuracy, hits both targets, and has a chance to lower the opponent's speed. Now, on top of that, it also has some other supportive moves like Icy Wind, has all the weathers, and it can of course use Taunt. Great stat spread all around, 125 special attack, 111 speed, 115 attack, so I can go for either option on the offenses, depending on what I feel like I need Tornadus to do at the moment. Decent-ish bulk, about so 79 HP, 70 defense, 80 special defense. It's not the bulkiest Pokemon in the world, but it's about average, which I think is great for a Prankster support mon. Next up, as you probably saw, we have Arcanine Hisui as a free agent from A tier. This draft has him in A. If you remember, in PDL when I drafted him, he was in B. And, I mean, he's been on the channel before. You got Intimidate, Flash Fire, Rockhead, strong stab moves, and Flare Blitz, Head Smash, and Rock Slide, with supportive options such as Snarl and Will-O-Wisp. 95 base HP with 80 defense and 80 special defense isn't that good. I mean, it's bulky-ish, but because of that 4 times weakness to water, Arcanine Hisui really suffers. 115 physical attack to make really good use of its stab options. At 95 special attack means that stuff like Snarl isn't going to do too little damage, though I am mainly using those for their supportive options. The main problem that Arcanine Hisui has over regular Arcanine is it does lose 5 speed, so it is a little slower than regular Arcanine. But I feel like because of Prankster Tailwind, we are going to be able to keep up with that. Next up, we drafted Azumarill as our second free agent. So my free agent structure what ends up being 2 A tiers, a C tier, and an E tier, but we'll get into those later. Azumarill has either Thick Fat, Sap Sipper, or Huge Power as an ability. Sap Sipper, it's got a niche option of being immune to grass type moves, But the main star here is huge power, doubling the base power of any physical move that Azumarill uses. And that's balanced out by its pretty low physical attack at only 50. We can boost that up even higher though with stuff like Belly Drum. And then we have strong stab options in Liquidation and Play Rough, as well as a priority option in Aqua Jet. That's another thing I forgot to mention about Arcanine and Hisui. Hisui and Arcanine also gets Extreme Speed, just like regular Arcanine, so we still have that priority option. Now, Azumarill is the first of our mons that are on the really slow side. So, despite us really wanting to use Tailwind, we do have Pokemon that could go well into Trick Room as a way to kind of counteract anyone who tries to use Trick Room against us. Though I don't think anyone really went with Trick Room this season except for Nilly. But it is the option we have, though we do have our own way of setting up Trick Room, which I'll get into later. Now, we saw Florges last season in PDL, just like Arcanine and Hisui, so we're bringing Florges back. Florges once again placed in C tier, which I think is insane value for the type of stuff Florges is able to do. Flower Veil and Symbiosis. Symbiosis is a bit of a niche ability. I could use stuff like Azumarill, use Belly Drum, eats a Citrus Berry, and then hand over whatever item Florges is holding to Azumarill. That's an option. But it's got Strong Stab in Moonblast, which is really its only good stab option. I mean, we also have Dazzling Gleam, which is a spread option. Calm Mind to boost its already incredible special defense and special attack. Pollen Puff for supportive healing. And this is a move I never used because I just never thought it was that great. But it is an option. Tearful Look, it lowers the attack and special attack of whatever I use it against by one stage, so not a bad option. Florges has pretty middling speed at 75, but we did see what it could do last season with a Choice Scarf if given the option. Or we can even put it under Tailwind to increase its speed. But that 154 special defense is really something. Very, very strong bulk there, with the only caveat that its physical defense is really bad. So one physical attack and Florges might just fall over, which we have seen in the past. However, for C tier, I think Florges is going to be really good. Now, I mentioned the option of Trick Room, and we have that setter with Azelf. Azelf, of course, learns Trick Room with 115 speed, so it can pretty much always get that off for its partner. It's got Levitate, so it's immune to ground-type moves. Has access to all the weather moves, but we have Tornadus for that. It's got the Elemental Punches as physical coverage. Got Thunder Wave, Thunderbolt, Thunder, Flamethrower. Azelf has a very diverse move pool in terms of coverage, though in terms of stab options, you really only have Psychic. Well, you also have Future Sight. But Future Sight's more of a singles thing than a doubles thing. And then we have the big one. Azelf learns Explosion. And with that 125 base attack, that's going to do a lot of work. But it also has a neat little synergy with our next mon. Sorry, not next mon. I'll get into that later. We're getting on to a lot of things later with this team. But as you saw, we brought Hisui and Electrode back. So, some of you might be noticing that the team basically just looks like my PDL Season 3 team, but replacing Azumarill with for Kyogre, and well, I wouldn't say you're wrong, but I mean, it worked, so we're gonna go with this time. But yes, we did essentially just recreate our last team, but with Azumarill instead of Kyogre. But anyway, Hisui and Electrode has the ability Soundproof, Static, Aftermath. Soundproof has a very niche option there, with Static being a 30% chance to paralyze anything that makes contact with it. Electric Grass typing is incredible for defensive coverage, which is why I really like Hisui and Electrode despite its stats being not great. 150 speed, though, makes it probably the fastest thing in the format. I think it's only beaten out by Calyrex Shadow? No, Calyrex Shadow's banned, but is Spectrier, yeah, that's the word. Is Spectrier also 150 speed? I think it is, unless it gets faster with Calyrex Rider. But Asuna Electro, probably the fastest thing in the format. We could use stuff like Thunder Wave, Thunderbolt Thunder. It also has Chloroblast, which is signature move, sorry. Which is, I think, 120 base power or 130, with the caveat of using half of its HP to use the attack. Not something I'm going to be probably using often, but it is an option as a strong grass type move. It also has Reflect, not Light Screen. It doesn't get Light Screen. A regular Electro gets Light Screen. This bothers me to this day. But anyway, because it's the fastest thing in the format, we could always, if we want to, set off a really fast Reflect if we're going up against a physical-based team. And lastly, just like Mesprit, it gets not Mesprit, Azelf, it gets Explosion, which we did see last season in PDL. However, its base 50 attack doesn't mean it's going to be doing a lot of damage with it. However, we could do some funny shenanigans of double explosion. It's always an option. Next up, we drafted Persian, who is my C-tier free agent, which is just better Meowth from last season. You get Limber, Technician Unnerve, Technician Fakeouts do a lot of damage. You have Last Resort again, which is a 150 base power move with the caveat that you have to use all your other moves before you can use it. So you can do stuff like Fake Out Last Resort with a Focus Sash to keep it alive. It does have Icy Wind for support, so that's always an option, as well as Switcheroo it's basically Trick, right? I give my item to my opponent, so I give my opponent like a Choice Scarf to lock into a move and get whatever item they had. It also gets Snarl just like Arcanine. So Persian could be that Snarl support if we want to have offensive Arcanine. And then it's got Taunt to prevent our opponents from doing some shenanigans with boosting moves or Spore or whatever. Now we get to the part that has interesting synergy with the rest of the team. Muckalola is a B tier with Poison Touch, Gluttony, and Power of Alchemy. Power of Alchemy is Muckalola's signature ability that when its partner Pokemon faints, it copies that Pokemon's ability. So you know how I mentioned how Azumarill is held back by its very low physical attack to balance out huge power? Well, Muckalola has double Azumarill's base attack. Now, we don't have as great of boosting moves as Azumarill. We don't get Belly Drum on Muckalola, so huge power might just be straight up better to stay on Azumarill than transferring it to Muck. However, it is an option. However, the option I really like is that Muckalola is only weak to ground because Dark gives it that psychic immunity. And Mesprit, not Mesprit, why do I keep saying Mesprit? Azelf has Levitate. So if Azelf dies, Muck no longer has a weakness. And it's got really good bulk. 105 HP, 100 special defense, 75 defense. While its defense isn't the greatest, that 105 HP and 100 special defense really do keep it alive. And so being immune to its only weakness is going to be really, really interesting. Of course, it's got its moves, right? It's the damage dealer. It's got Poison Jab, the Elemental Punches, Drain Punch, Rock Slide, Shadow Sneak, which I did not know it got, and Acid Armor. Acid Armor is a boosting move that boosts our defense. So we can actually get out of that middling defense stat and get Muck some defense. This is another one of those very slow mods. It's got 50 speed just like Azumarill. So we could do Trick Room options with Azelf and Muck out on the lead, which is always an option. Next up, we got Goodra with Sap Sipper, Hydration, and Gooey. Goodra is, if it was in A tier, I would have never picked, but it's a pseudo-legendary in B tier. I figured those stats make up for the fact that its move pool isn't the greatest. It's got slightly less special defense than Florges, but 150 special defense is still great. Exact same special attack as Florges at 110. It's also got 100 base attack, so we can go for a more physical set if we want to. and 90 HP and 70 defense, so rounding out its alright bulk on the physical side. Though, it's got a lot of coverage moves. It's got Draco Meteor, of course, for that nuke option, Dragon Tail to force my opponent to switch, Earthquake, Flamethrower, Thunderbolt, Muddy Water. Goodra has a very vast move pool of coverage, with the only caveat that it doesn't have that many strong stab options. But because of terrestrialization, I feel like we could really have Goodra fit whatever we need to do. And of course, that 80 base speed makes it alright on its own. We could train it to be slow if we want to go Trick Room, or just have it be on its speed and have it be boosted by Tailwind. Next up, we are nearing the end. This is my 10th pick, Glimmet, of D tier. Abilities of Toxic Debris and Corrosion, Toxic Spike Memento. These are all very supportive-based options for Glimmet. Toxic Debris, if we get hit by a physical move, we drop down a layer of T-Spikes on the opponent. And since we have quite a few Pokemon that actually have a lower physical defense than special defense, I feel like Glimmet provides good utility that way, because our opponent would want to go for physical moves against us, but we have Glimmet, which could come in and set up a T-Spike. Now, of course, spikes in general aren't as useful in VGC than singles, but it's always an option we have. Memento, of course, to lower stat drops to, you know, if we need to. The Glimmet does have 105 base special attack, which is a lot. And I didn't really expect it to have that much special attack. So, of course, it is held back by its low speed and very bad frailty. So, it's more of an option that we have of, we could do something with this. Why not bring it? But, of course, that's a lot of the D tier options. You're looking at a lot of niche options. And I feel like Glimmet filled a niche that the team needed. And then, lastly, we have Eevee from E tier as a free agent, with Runaway, Adaptability, and Anticipation. Adaptability is another super strong ability we could give to Mach. It's basically just budget huge power. And the reason why I say we could give it to Mach a lot easier is because Eevee's a lot frailer than Azumarill. So it's more likely to just die, especially if I give it like no IVs in defense, or EVs in defense, etc. Though it does have Baby Doll Eyes, which Baby Doll Eyes is a priority status move that will lower the opponent's physical offense by one stage. So there's always that niche of Eevee being able to lower an attack, which is why I feel like it was a good E tier pick. It also has Last Resort, just like Persian. So even though it only has 55 base attack, if we're able to get that Last Resort off, it could do decent chunks of damage. And then it's got Wish and Baton Pass for Wish Pass, which, given Eevee's frailty, is probably never going to happen, but it's always an option. Anyway, that concludes the team. Oh, Florges' head got cut off. Oh well. How would you rate the team? I am very excited to use this team in UDL. Anyways, I thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace.